Well, today's recipe is not a recipe at all. Today's video is all about the different techniques of stuffing parathas differently. Let's see 5 today. Techniques of stuffing paratha. Let's begin. Now, like I said, there's no recipe as such today. What I have done, I have made one of my most favorite fillings or stuffings for the paratha. And this is like a very typical quintessential. I've taken boiled potato. To that, I've added onions, I've added red chili powder, coriander powder, salt, and lots of peas. And eventually, you create like a little bit of a mash. Moving on, the next little recipe that I have here is for the dough. Now, this is again very simple. What you need is take wheat flour, to which we add in salt, we add in oil, and make a little bit of a stiff dough using water. Now, do not get too adventurous. Add water little by little so that the consistency or the texture of the dough is just about perfect. Now, I'm going to show you 5 different ways in which you can make the paratha. Now, the first method is a single chapati method. You take a lemon-sized ball and you roll it into a nice thin disc. Let's do that. You take a little bit of flour and you tap this like so and roll this into a thin disc. Let's add in a few scoopfuls of the filling mixture and flatten it like so. The whole idea is to make a casing or an envelope almost like a square. Let's apply some water on the sides which are currently exposed like so. Let's fold it in like so. We apply a little water and continue rolling. Eventually, it becomes like a square paratha, which is your first technique. Let's keep this aside. Let's move on to our second technique, and that is a 2 chapati paratha, for which of course we need 2 little dough balls, lemon sized this time. The idea is to sheet this nice and thin so that we can use this like a sandwich layer. Let's keep this aside and sheet another one as well. Let's take the potato mixture, like a little scoopful, and spread this along the surface of the first chapati. Just ensure while doing this, you leave a little bit of an edge so that we can create like a little sandwich. Let's apply water on the edges like so and place the second chapati on top of this. Press this so that the filling gets retained. Also, while doing this, just ensure that the air pockets are kind of released. Now that's the second technique, which is a 2 chapati method or a sandwich method. Let's move on to the third method, and that is the bowl method, which is quintessentially the most used method while making parathas. You create like an indent like so. Now while doing this, we need to ensure that the center of the bowl is always thicker. Now if you see, it's almost this thick and the sides are getting thinner, because the whole idea is when you club this together and create like an encasing, all the edges would come together and create like a thick edge. So this is just about perfect. Keep dusting this with some extra flour and keep pinching the sides so that eventually this forms like a little dough bowl this time. Let's fill in some mixture. Let's club all of this together. Eventually, you also need to keep pushing the filling, pinch and press back. Let's take some more dusting flour and roll it till you almost start seeing the filling. Well, eventually you can also start pressing this using a 3-finger method like so, instead of using a rolling pin, because the pressure of the rolling pin sometimes could get a little too much. Now that you can almost see the filling, it's time to stop and let's get in action and at least pan-sear these till we move on to the next. The whole idea is to always begin with the plating side first, which goes hitting the pan first. On high flame, we initially just dry roast the paratha. After around 40-45 seconds, we give this a flip like so. Time to add in oil or ghee, again depending on your preference. And you pan fry this on high flame. This would need a little more of the oil and frying as well. Now again, for a double-decker paratha like this, it's also important to cook the sides. Now for that, even if you have to use a tong, lift it and cook one side at a time. While making this paratha specially, it's important to ensure that the sides also get pressed because there's a level difference between the stuffing and the edges. This way, the edges also get cooked. Let's move on to the fourth technique, and that is the tikona technique, and which is a triangle paratha technique, for which we of course need a single chapati, but a large one at that. Take some flour for dusting and sheet it nice and thin. Let's dust off the excess flour and add in a generous amount of filling. Now this filling categorically needs to be on just 1/4 of this paratha. We create like a little triangle. So that way, roughly, if this is the center, if you fold it like so, let's apply water on the remaining chapati. Let's fold this into a half. You apply some more liquid and fold it again and press the sides. Have your tikona, which is 1, 2, 3 or 3 angles or triangle paratha done and ready. Let's transfer this straight onto the griddle. Let's move on to the last one, the fifth one, that is a lachha paratha. Let's sheet this nice and thin. On top of this, chilli powder, coriander powder, a touch of salt, and lastly, some oil. Now basically on top of this, you make like a masala by rubbing all of this onto the surface. The next step is to take one of these edges and convert this into a little bit of a roulade. Let's dredge some flour, keep this steady for now. Let's cut this midway like so. Let's connect this and coil this up. Eventually, the tail goes under the paratha. We dredge some flour and sheet this again. Now to open up all of these lachhas, I've deliberately put this on a muslin cloth so that you can crush it like so. Where you have all these lachhas opened up beautifully like so. With this, ladies and gentlemen, you have 5 different techniques of stuffing parathas at home. Now whether you call these 5 different parathas or just one paratha shown in different ways, that's absolutely what is the requirement of today's video. Well, you do not need to jump and make all these different versions at once. Choose what is the most convenient for you and go all out and impress your family and friends. Bye for now.